Have you ever wondered why millennials are maybe tougher for you to motivate? Because you can't control them. You can lead them, but you can't control them. Some people don't want to be controlled. It's like the days of telling somebody, hey, go do that because I told you to. Those days are kind of gone. So if you don't, as a person who influences in a business, you have no opportunity to influence them if you don't have rapport. Hey, everybody, welcome to Leadership in the Dealership. Bart Nollenberger here, and I get it. You're waiting for my guest. Well, one more time, I don't have a guest on purpose, but the following weeks, the next 3 weeks, definitely 4, 5 weeks, we'll have guests. So thank you for your patience with that. I've just had some really great content I wanted to share with you. And now we're going to flip back to the guest format. But before we do that, let's talk about a book I'm writing. The book I'm writing is called Leadership in the Dealership: Mistakes Managers Make. Now, I've been working on this for a bit, and I'm now getting to the point where it's almost with y'all. And I'm going to encourage you at the end of this podcast to send me an email at bartnollenberger.com. Tell me you heard this podcast, and I'll get you a free copy of the book. How you like them apples? So I'd love to be able to do that for you. So all you have to do after the podcast is send me that email, bart@bartnollenberger.com, and say, hey, I want Leadership in the Dealership. We're about 2 months out, so be patient with me. So around the end of January, you're going to see that book. But let's talk about some of the things that I've done in my research and in my time in this industry, 40 years, that I've seen that managers do that are a mistake. But let me be really clear. There's not one person listening to this today that hasn't made a mistake. And this is not to say you're doing this or you're doing that. No, you hate those podcasts, and so do I. This is about saying these are things that you and I can do that we think, oh, yeah, that's right. And I want to get better at that. And I want to shift in that. You remember my 4 questions I ask myself every day? What's going right? What am I doing right? Number 2, what did I learn? Number 3, what must I change? And number 4, what's my role in that? Those questions under different contexts give us so much information. But one thing they really give us is self-awareness. I was in a meeting yesterday with a gentleman talking about Myers-Briggs and DISC and spiritual gifts. And it was so interesting the way he put it, that all that information just allows us to know each other better and to know our people better. Dude, I've been saying that all along. If you have those things available to you, why wouldn't you use those? But that's another topic for maybe later on in today's session. For now, though, I want to go over just a few of the different categories that we may or may not cover in this one, but will be in the book in some capacity. One of those is under leadership and vision mistakes. And the first one I want you to think about is the failure to cast a vision. Now, every Wednesday, actually, I put together a 15-minute sales training lesson. And right now I'm really focusing on prospecting, and a 15-minute manager lesson. And yesterday, my manager lesson was on failing to cast a clear vision. And we talked about that for 15 minutes. What's the solutions with that? We're not going to go over it necessarily today, but that's important for everybody to understand the vision of the organization. Another one that is under leadership and vision is avoiding tough conversations. Man, that is a tough one, isn't it? And so many of us really are introverts, I think, and we really avoid those conversations. And if we avoid them too long, it kills the culture in the business. In communication and people mistakes, back to almost what we just talked about, failing to communicate expectations clearly. If you've hung around me at all, again, you know that I talk about Gallup and what Gallup says about coaching. And one thing they say is that if you have a coaching culture in your business of asking and listening to your people and really paying attention to what they say, your business will increase in terms of productivity by 72%. Now, that's crazy big numbers. If you think it's too big, cut it in half. It's still 37%, or something like that. From Toledo, it's Toledo math. But the reality is It will increase your productivity if you coach, but you have to learn how to have those expectations, how to put them in place and have those difficult conversations. Another thing that throws us for a loop in terms of communication and people mistakes is lacking consistency. I was watching a video by the head coach of the San Jose Sharks a little bit ago, and he was talking about consistency. He's got his 4 C's: compassion, caring, commitment, and consistency. And what he said about consistency is that's going to be the key for us to grow, to get past the hump that they've been in the last 2 years. And interestingly enough, right now they're playing so well because of again, a new culture is being expressed in their organization. Some coaching and development mistakes that we make are not having a structured training plan, people. I mean, what do I mean by a structured training plan? Every day, every time, without fail, no exceptions. Now, you might say to yourself, well, my people know the steps to a sale. They got that. But do they know how to prospect? Do they really know how to call clients and get their attention? Do they really know how to leave a voice message so somebody calls back? Do they really know how to mirror tone on the phone? So there's so many different aspects of our industry that we could be better on with sales. It's not just the 10 steps to a sale, although that's always good. But maybe you've got a veteran sales force, or maybe you've got a rookie sales force. I called a dealership the other day. They have a very young sales force and they're not training them. And the business sucks right now, is what they said. Well, hello, look at the math, right? Maybe the not training them, having them be brand new people, has something to do with business not being very good. So, is there a value in a structured training plan? I will guarantee you the dealerships I've looked at that and been around for the last 40 years that have the best training programs have the best results. No doubt about it. Not measuring progress through coaching metrics. What's that mean? That means you can't manage what you don't measure. And measuring is a big piece. I love the wagon wheel. The wagon wheel, if you don't know what it is, a circle with at the top opportunities. The left side is selections, down a little bit lower is demos, then bringing them inside and then writing them up and then closing them. All those components are huge for us to figure out, are we doing what we are supposed to be doing? But even more importantly than that, this wagon wheel tracks fresh ups, be backs, and developed. So we can see what kind of people are we closing? What kind of people are we talking to? Are we setting appointments? All the things that are so important to know. Now, I get that your CRM probably tracks some of those things, the selects and the demos. It probably doesn't track insights. It does track write-ups and it does track closes, no doubt about it. It does track probably if customers are fresh up, or if it's a unsold showroom traffic customer that came back, or if it's a referral or the past customer or someone within our database. It tracks all that. I get it. But the cool thing about the wagon wheel is the wagon wheel allows the salespeople to track their own progress every day and put it in writing. Now, I get it. That's old school. But the thing about that is it gets them to pay attention to the details of their business. It's a way. It's not the only way, but it's a great way to track it. If you want the wagon wheel, you know my number, bart@bartnollenberger.com. I'll send that over to you. Modern marketplace mistakes: not building a strong online reputation strategy. Man, in today's world, isn't that important? Isn't it important to have a strategy for our social medias? Isn't it important to have a strategy for our videos? Man, there's a lot of important stuff in that list. Now, again, I've got 50 of them. They're not all going to be in the book, but I've got 50 of them that I looked at over the years that I felt that if we can't get a grasp on, then we're not going to be able to get to the next level. I'm going to do a few of them with you today. Some of them that are in the book, I'm going to do with you today. All right. Leadership mistakes and solutions. Let's talk about that one because you know me and you know how I love leadership. Mistake number 1, managing instead of leading. And you get this. Too many managers try to control everything. Have you ever wondered why millennials are maybe tougher for you to motivate? Because you can't control them. You can lead them, but you can't control them. Some people don't want to be controlled. It's like the days of telling somebody, hey, go do that because I told you to, those days are kind of gone. So if you don't, as a person who influences in a business, we're talking dealerships here, but any business, you have no opportunity to influence them if you don't have rapport. And in leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, not control. So how do we do it? What's the solution for managing and for leading our people instead of managing? For one thing, get them educated on what leadership really is. One of the solutions is to put them through my 12-week boot camp called Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. It's a phenomenal boot camp where we get together with a group of us. We meet once a week. We go through the book, Developing the Leader. We go through a chapter a week. So it's intensive. It's fast. And the first chapter is on the 5 levels of leadership, where we really look at what level your people are. The second level is on priorities. Third chapter is on attitude, then personal development, then self-development. 10 chapters on developing the leader within you. Now, what's so cool about that book is it's built for automotive. Anytime I tell somebody that's what we do for automotive, they say, oh, we needed that. And what's cool about it too is we're not teaching, frankly, the way John Maxwell would. I'm not John Maxwell. I'm not trying to be John Maxwell. I'm training it and teaching it and coaching it and leading it and guiding it the way a car person would. So we can use these specific chapters in the environment that you work in. So here's what you're going to get out of develop the leader within you. What I call the 3 C's. The shark said there are 4 C's. I have 3 C's. First one's clarity. And I love clarity because clarity really means, how am I doing? Remember when we first got together and I said, what I do right, what I learned, what must I change? What's my role in this? It's self-awareness. Clarity allows you to look through a pair of glasses where you can actually see through them and they're not foggy. But so many of us are so crowded and clouded by ego, pride, insecurity, that we feel like our way is the only way. We know better, but we don't want to be that vulnerable to anybody else that we don't know what we're doing. Clarity changes everything. A leader with clarity understands themselves better, and they have a magic wand to be able to understand people there because they understand themselves better. The other C that is a solution to leading instead of managing is connection. Connection. Connecting with our people at a deep level by asking questions, by spending time with them. You know, I've said this many times. How often did Joe Verdi say that you should do one-on-one coaching or do one-on-one coaching daily? Daily. That doesn't mean you have a 20-minute sessions with every salesperson daily. What it does mean is you're checking in with everybody daily. And then maybe you've got 2 or 3 questions you ask them. Maybe on their, how many calls you make today? How'd the calls go? What was your greatest call you had today? Those types of questions that you got clarity with, that you've got that are important for you. Maybe that's how you touch and go with your people all day long. You know, if you've ever sat at the airport, which I used to do, there's a little restaurant at the airport here in Arizona that I used to sit there and just watch the planes take off. But the funnest thing to do was watch the pilots do the touch and goes where they just come on down, land, and then take off again. That was cool stuff. And that's what you and I are doing on a daily basis with our people. If we've ever not done a touch and go with the people that are under our tutelage on a daily basis, we're not doing our job, man. So we're not connecting with them. See, whether you like it or not, they have life. They've got life going on outside this dealership. And a lot of times, maybe more so now than later, I don't know, people bring their life to work. But if they can't feel comfortable with you, if they can't know that you're real, if they can't know you're authentic, if they can't know that you're an impassionate leader, not weak, not at all, but impassionate, that they can't share stuff with you, then you're not going to have that connection. Now, I get what you're saying. I get what you're thinking. Do you need to know everything about them? Of course not. Do they need to know everything about you? Of course not. But there are moments, there are people that you're going to want to know more about because they want you to know more about, and you need them to guide that to be that person, to be the person that leads them. I had a manager years ago by the name of Russ Engebretson, and Russ was the GSM at Stevens Creek Toyota in San Jose, California. Now, the problem was Russ had some bad habits, and so do I. So did I. Not today, I know, but so did I back then. But he was one of my heroes because he believed in me so much. Did Russ know everything about me? No, he knew my family, but he didn't know everything about me. But we had a good connection, and he and I would grab a lunch. We might, after work, we might grab a drink. But the reality was, I felt really close to him. I felt very connected with him. Eventually, I would tell him more. Unfortunately, he wasn't the guy that could lift me out of the doldrums because he was in the doldrums himself, but he was a great car person and a great connector. And maybe sometimes that's the role you have to play. Connect, clarity, connection, and the last one's coaching. And you know what Gallup says about coaching? 3 pieces. Number 1, establish expectation. Number 2, continually coach. And number 3, define accountability. You do that well, and now you're going to start building your people up. Be a culture of coaching. I think you've heard me say that before. And when you let the people feel ownership, you don't just tell them to do something, but they feel ownership, they perform at a higher level. Eustace Wolfington used to say, a man or woman convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. It doesn't work to just tell them. You have to ask questions, listen with empathy, and listen to understand, not to be understood. Here's my favorite quote. My wife listens to every one of my podcasts. She's got my quotes down. You can get anything you want. What is it, Mary? You help enough people get what they want. You can get anything you want if you help them get what they want. Now, a little bit earlier, we talked about one of the mistakes that, and this is the one I put on my training session. It's no clear vision that inspires daily action. It goes back to expectations. Again, if you want to go deeper with this in a 15-minute lesson, then go ahead and email me at bart@bartnollenberger.com, because I talked about this particular topic in my daily management session. But I'll hit on it a little bit. So what I believe is this. Every one of your people has a dream. I believe it. If they don't have a dream, then you got the wrong people, right? They have a dream. They want something bigger. And it could be just to be top salesperson. There's no just about that. It could be to be a general manager. There's no just about that. It could be something like that. Or it could be they want to own up properties, but they have a vision. What if you're the person that helps them, show them how this business will be the conduit to help them get that business, whatever it is? Most stores run on to-do lists, not on vision. I had a young man ask me last week, what is vision? Well, I think vision, frankly, it's what we want. It's what we want. It's why we want it, and it's how we're going to do it. That's what vision is. It's what we want, and it's why we want it. Those 2 pieces are really important, and then it's how we're going to do it. Now, how you find out how you're going to do it by studying, by collaborating, by getting people around you that are smarter than you. See, if you and I are focused too much on the how and we're not focused on the why, then we're going to get caught up in the how. There's a lot of different ways to do the how. I study all the time because I want to find out different ways to lead. I want to find out different ways to put culture. I'm kind of a culture coach. I want different ways to put culture in businesses. I'm studying that all the time. But the reason I'm studying that is I know what I want, and that is to influence 10,000 people. And I know why I want to do that, because I put on this mark on this planet to do that. And then the how comes from, okay, now that I know what I want and why I want it, how are we going to do that? So for you, same thing. You want to be a GM? Great. Why do you want that? Get really clear with that. I mean, deep, not just one why, but really deep. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? Why do you want it? Now step back and say, how am I going to do it? What's my strategy going to be? Now, you probably heard this before, but Earl, and I say that a lot because I repeat some of these things on these podcasts, but Earl Nightingale was a thought leader from the past. You can Google him. And Nightingale had a strategy that I've used that I teach my people, and that is to write a list of 10 ways to do a better job at what I now do. So if you want to be a general manager, What if you got up early, put a grateful list together first, and then put 10 ways to do a better job at what you now do? And you think about them in terms of marketing, in terms of processes, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Here's the important thing with this tool. If you're going to write down 10 ways to do a better job at what I now do, and that is that as a GSM, maybe to get to be a sales manager, 10 ways to do a better job at what I now do. It might be, I'm going to walk the lot every morning. We're going to have an 8:30 to 8:40 sales meeting. We're going to have everybody send us what their goals are for the day in a text so we can help them with their goals throughout the day. We're going to have every manager take their team and do one-on-ones each week for 20 minutes that are intentional. We'll have every manager do touch and goes with the other team members every day, whatever it is. I've got a tool that a friend of mine got me. Matter of fact, when he hired me, and it's called The Day in the Life of a General Sales Manager. And if one follows this rule, one's going to get promoted to general manager. It happened to me. And I'm telling you, it's a phenomenal tool. And I've talked about it before on LinkedIn. I think we've talked about it on this podcast. If you want that, then all you have to do is email me, man. I'm giving you all kinds of gifts today. Email me at bart@bartnollenberger.com. Tell me what it is you want. The day in the life of a GSM. I'd love to give it to you. See, those ideas you might not have even thought about, but when you see that, you think, yeah, that'll work. You and I have no problem finding ideas these days. And you can probably go to chat and get some ideas too. But again, be a student of getting as many ideas as you can to be better at what you now do. But here's the difference. It's one thing to have a strategy. It's another thing to execute that strategy. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'm all over that. I'm going to do that. It's another thing to do it. And if you're the kind of person that says, I'm all over that, but you don't do anything about it, that's not the kind of person that's going to have a great success on this planet. If you're the kind of person that says that you want to change a culture, you want to change your own culture, you want to change your family at home, don't talk about it. Just do what you're going to do. John Maxwell says exactly that. That's culture. Not saying that you're going to do it. That's vision. Doing what you're going to do. That's culture. So again, vision. What do you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to do it? But here's the deal. Everybody's got to know the vision, man. It's got to be clear. And if everybody knows the vision, they see it everywhere. They're all going in the same direction, aren't they? So post the vision, speak your vision, live your vision, not just to yourself, but to the team. And every morning, your huddle should include what you believe, who you're becoming, and why it matters. I like to go around the room and have everybody tell me what their goal is. See, I learned this from Cardone years ago when I was a young goal setter. And he would say, make sure you write down your goals every single day. I thought, yeah. But then I started doing it. And I'd write them down. Right now, I write down a grateful list every day. And I write down my goals every day, every single day. They're right in my notebook. I still have a paper notebook I use. And I keep trying to go digital, but I keep doing that paper notebook because I like writing it out. Remember earlier, I talked about the wagon wheel and the power of writing it out. There's something about when you put pen to paper, psychologically, it has more clarity. Sometimes I think we get white noise by looking at technology all the time. So sometimes it's good to switch that around. But when you write down your goal list every day and you write down your grateful list every day, it's a great way to start the morning. As a team coming in, when you do a little training meeting and then everybody goes out to the lot, but in the middle of that training meeting, what do we believe? Maybe go around the room and again, let everybody say their goal that particular Monday or something. Who are we becoming? And have people explain, man, who they're becoming by working here. Who they're becoming by selling 30 a month and serving other people. What a great question to ask in an early morning meeting. And why it matters. Why it matters to be a different person. See, I think most people, when you ask them what they believe, what we believe as an organization, what we're becoming, and why it matters, most of them will probably funnel down to their kids. Why it matters is I'm a better human being now. Why it matters is I'm nicer to my wife. Why it matters is I've got some financial responsibility now. Why it matters is because of the fact that I have a goal and the store has a goal. We're all heading in one direction. Makes me feel better about myself. I did some one-on-one coaching and group coaching with a young man in Georgia. And he'll tell you the one thing he got out of the one-on-one coaching is it made him better at home. Yes, he had a vision for his business. Yes, he had a vision. He had goals he wrote down every day. But he had never written down, I want to be nicer to my wife. And he had never written down, I want to have better conversations with my teenage son. And yet in that discussion, as he was working on him, as he was very clear with his goals, as he was very clear with walking toward a purpose, as he was very clear in influencing others, as he became clear in his own character, he realized, and as he did coaching, it became really clear to him, I need to be nicer to my wife. See, what we do in coaching and what you should do in coaching too is ask them questions and let them come up with the answer. Remember, a man or woman convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So many of us want to direct the conversation, push a vision on somebody. But if I'm going to tell them our vision, I want to know their vision. Because if I know their vision and I know our vision, we're going to dance with the two together and both parties win. What's your organization? What's your vision personally? What's your organization's vision? Find out what theirs is and help bring the two together. Remember, we talked about Gallup earlier in coaching. Number one is set expectation. Find out what theirs are too, man. You got to know what your people's expectations are too. And when all of this becomes clear, their own personal company, and they're going in the right direction, it starts working better at home, as we talked about, and their life is more meaningful and work becomes more meaningful. All right. Here's another one. A mistake that we do is allowing toxic high performers. Yeah, isn't that so true? We allow people who perform that are just jerks, right? You know the ones. And I don't know why. I just don't understand. If I'm not smart enough to really know why, frankly. But why is it that sometimes when we talk about toxics, they're big numbers and they got a big core attitude? Why is that? Is it because they think they're better than everybody else and they can act that way? Is it better? Is it because they're just so competitive, they're going to crush people along the way? I mean, doesn't mean it's wrong. Frankly, I was a big performer and I did not have a bad attitude. I had a fantastic attitude. So I don't understand when people don't. But here's what I find though. In many of these organizations, they hold everybody hostage. Why? Well, they're holding them hostage because of the fact that they're making the money. And everybody behind the scenes says, oh, that guy's such a jerk. But there's no way they want to get rid of him, right? They don't want to get rid of them. They're making the store too much money. Talk about a lousy culture. We've done, and if you watch this podcast, you already know this, we've been talking about culture scorecards. And what we find out about these cultural scorecards is it's an anonymous assessment of how the organization does on some key factors: communication, teamwork, leadership, all that. And what's great about it is it's true. it's the people anonymously telling you what they feel about the organization. And we take all the content, not just one person's. We take all of it and it goes into a number of how we're doing in that area. And what's so interesting about that is the truth is revealed. The truth is revealed if everybody hates this person, right? I mean, you and I there's moments when we're intimidated by that high performer and we're not going to say anything to him. Or our manager is intimidated from him because the general manager or the owner likes him so well because they perform. And we can't say anything. But behind the scenes, this guy or lady's a jerk. But it doesn't have to be that way. I'm kind of I'm a rescuer a little bit. And I don't know why I'm going down this hole, but sometimes true. I believe I could save everybody. But you know what? Sometimes you can't, man. Sometimes people are just rude and they're mean and they can't be saved. And then you, as an organization, have to ask yourself the question, are we willing to put up with that? And you know what's also real interesting too? A lot of times these high performers get promoted to the desk. You've seen it. The personality didn't change. They all of a sudden didn't become an influencer when they went to the desk, did they? It's just now you've got that toxic environment on the desk. Seen it? Absolutely, so have you. So how do we do this? We set a new standard. And this new standard has to do with character. You know what character is, right? Go ahead and Google it, but it's who you are when nobody's watching. It's your own self-integrity. It's that when you tell yourself something, you are going to hold yourself true to whatever you promise yourself. So you have massive self-integrity. People of character, they're humble. People of character, they don't believe their ego and pride did it. People of character don't feel that they're the center of the universe. People of character aren't about them. They're about other people. People of character serve their clients, not just for a paycheck, that just shows up, but because of the fact they want to make sure they have the best experience ever. People of character, frankly, if they're on the sales floor, they help other people out. Not all the time. They're not enablers by any means. They don't have to do that, but they don't mind helping and serving other people. The greatest leaders on the planet are great followers too. And so, how do we handle these difficult ones again? We coach them. Now, what the heck do we mean by that? Really? It means we have to sit and ask, what's going on now? Tell me about you. So if you lost this job because of your bad attitude, how would that make you feel? Sometimes it's you getting intentional about how that conversation is going to look, asking questions in a deeply intentional manner. As we start wrapping up within the next couple of minutes here, I want to remind you of my platform called Auto Mastery University. And in Auto Mastery University, we just put a disc, I think about 30, yeah, maybe 15, but we did 30 different videos on a number of different topics. And then we did 50 different videos on coaching. So we did, I think, 15 on disc, 15 on change, and then 50 on coaching. And how to ask and listen, ask and listen, ask and listen, and the strategy for coaching. It's an incredible series. As a matter of fact, what we're doing now, not only is it on our platform, but what I think I'm doing that's more valuable is I'm offering it to people that are interested in it. We'll take our people through it. They don't have to read a book. They can just go through this over a 10-week period of time. And they're 3-minute videos that are shot. And every time we watch the video together, then we talk about it together. And then next week when we get together, we talk about what they did last week as far as a coach. And it's a way to change behavior, not just watching a video. That doesn't change behavior. It just doesn't. But what changes behavior is that connection, that the clarity and the connection and the coaching and really going through the steps of coaching. And if you want more about that, then you know how to get a hold of me. We're going to do one more, and I'm going to call it Avoid Tough Conversations today. You know, the book Crucial Conversations talks about that. And what they say is if you keep avoiding difficult conversations, it tears apart, let me get it out, apart the culture of an organization. I've been in organizations where people just couldn't communicate. And I have to tell you, it doesn't happen on my watch. I just won't let it. I'll get everybody in the room and we're going to have a conversation. It's not me telling everybody what they're doing wrong. It's us opening up. When crucial conversations happen, that's when shift happens. That's where transformation happens. And what goes around when you don't have crucial conversations going on, we dance around performance issues and we hope magically things change. It just doesn't happen, man. You've heard me talk about different organizations I've been in where it worked and where it didn't work, and where communication worked and all along, and we had better results. Where communication didn't work, but they made a decision to make it work, and they had dramatic change. Where communication didn't work, and they didn't want to do anything about it, and it and tubed the organization. You've heard me say this. So this is a really big piece. So how do we have solutions? Well, I think any conversation requires, again, asking and listening. I think any communication requires massive rapport. Frankly, techniques like mirroring their tonality, not manipulation, but mirroring it in a caring tonality with where you're curious and you're gathering information, where you confirm the information. I think listening has to be the key piece. You've heard Stephen Covey say, listen first to understand, then to be understood. Shut up. Ask the question, listen deeply, pay attention to their body language, their tone, the words they use. Paying attention will get you paid. And if you can't pay attention to what's going on the other side, your big piece is to make sure you repeat it. We've talked in the past about the 3 C's: connect, convey, check. Connect means you're connect. We've talked about it today for the last 20 minutes. Connect, connect, connect. Emotionally, spiritually, connect with your people, whatever that means. If you want help with that, call me. Convey the message, convey what it is you're trying to tell them, but also that's after you heard their way. And now it's your turn. And you're going to say, this is how we're going to do it. We've already connected. We've already heard them out. We've already asked questions. We've already had asked more questions. We got deep. Now we're going to say, I'm going to come up with a solution. Here's what we're going to do. And by the way, what did I just say? So it's connect, convey, check. You know, a great way to come up with a solution too is in the middle of that, ask and listen, ask and listen, ask and listen, ask them, how do you think we should do this? How do you think we should do this? Get everybody's feedback. And then you, as the referee, say, you know what? I think you guys got a point. We're going to put a little bit of a soup together here with both of your ideas. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this and this. And then ask them, what did you hear me say? Ask them to repeat what it is that you're trying to convey. And when they do that, now they're listening. There's another technique we use, and we don't have a ton of time for that, but it is on my platform. If you want to know more information, is layer. Listen, acknowledge, align, ask, explore, then respond. Listen, acknowledge, align, ask, explore, then respond. Again, if you want more information on that, I'd love to share that with you. That's just a few of the mistakes that we make as managers in dealerships. Dude, can you imagine if we can just make what if we made the decisions that for the next 3 months, I'm going to grab a couple of these and focus on a couple of these every week. Can you imagine that? And can you imagine you're a general manager at a dealership and you're going to grab your team and say, which one you want to work on, which one you want to work on? Or maybe you all come in unison about the 2 that you're going to work on. Everybody's working on the same thing that week. But whatever the case is, everybody's working to get better at what they're now doing. Man, talk about an organization that now starts changing culture. Hey, did I tell you I appreciate y'all? I love having you guys here. Next week, again, we'll have a guest. I'm looking forward to that. And we'll be hanging out with you next week here, same place, same time. Thanks for joining us on Keep the Change and Leadership in the Dealership. Appreciate you, everybody.